My 27F stepbrother, 32M, has been taking my son 2M to see my ex 28M in exchange for money. My son is 2.5 and he's recently been talking about his daddy a lot. As far as I was aware, he had never met his dad since my ex didn't want me to keep him and we broke up when I had a really bad breakdown at the abortion clinic and he still tried to persuade me to go back. My sil babysits my son for me occasionally and I thought he had just picked up the word from her kids. Other weird things I had noticed recently was that my stepbrother was constantly arranging playdates at his house but would never invite my sil's nephew who is closer in age to his children. My stepbrother is also not a very involved dad, so it was strange that he suddenly had such an interest in my son when he barely had any in his own children. Another weird thing was that he was always buying my son a lot of gifts even though he's never bought anyone a gift since I've known him. My sil recently found out my stepbrother was cheating on her and finally confessed the truth to me yesterday. All of those times I thought they were watching my son, they were actually taking him to see his dad, who was paying them to arrange all of this. According to my sil, my ex tried to reach out just after my son was born but my stepbrother told him I was mentally fragile and it would be a bad idea for him to speak to me because the breakup had caused me to completely lose it and they were worried contact from him would cause me to go off the rails again. At first, my stepbrother was just giving my ex small updates about me and the baby, but after my sil started babysitting for me my ex offered them a lot of money in exchange to see our son. My sil justified it by saying that they needed the money and since she was babysitting for free, I should understand. I'm beyond angry right now. I've never tried to stop my ex from having contact with our son, but he still decided to be sneaky. And I don't even want to ever see my stepbrother again. I told my parents what happened, and my stepmom is telling me to just let things continue how they are because my stepbrother needs the money and also my son is getting to bond with his dad this way. She also pointed out that this way I don't have to deal with my ex because my stepbrother handles everything and since they're sneaking around, I get to dictate when he sees him. I'm not sure what to do now. I did text my ex asking him to call me, but he made some bullshit excuse up about how he had meetings all day, so he'll try to call me later, if he gets the chance. I thought I would post this before we talk since I'm not sure what to say or how to stay calm. I also don't know what to do about my stepbrother. I could really use some help in figuring out what to do next. Too long did not read. My stepbrother has been taking my son to see his dad, my ex, without telling me in exchange for money. Update. I spoke to my ex. Most of the conversation was him repeatedly saying how sorry he was and how he knows he messed up. He verified the story my sil told me. He claimed he felt really guilty for what he had done and when my stepbrother told him me seeing him would do more harm than good he thought staying away was the least he could do. He said the original agreement was for him to see our son once and then my stepbrother would just continue giving him updates but my stepbrother kept offering to bring him again and he couldn't say no. He said for the past 8 months he was seeing him every single time I left him with my sil and that it was always at his house and there was no one else around. My stepbrother would leave and come back to get him. Also, he was paying him £200 per visit and all of those gifts my stepbrother was buying my son were actually from him. We agreed for him to come over on Saturday so we can talk about potential visitations and what a co-parenting relationship would look like. He wanted to meet tomorrow but I'm still angry so I asked for a day to process things. Is he paying child support? If not, time to make visitation and support official. You should be getting that money, not your stepbrother. Cut out stepbrother. Go to court, get custody agreement, visitation and child support from baby daddy. You are the mom. Stepbrother is a problem. He's cut from the child in whatever way you choose. Definitely doesn't get to take the kid. Ex doesn't want to step up. He stays out of the child's life. He has spare cash then it should go to raising his son. Child support. You don't ask stepmom for advice. She raised her son this poorly. Now you understand the behavior. Your stepbrother is a piece of shit. Cut him out of your life as much as possible. Stepmother is not much better, justifying his betrayal. Time to take the ex to court. He can pay to support his kid if he's going to see him. This scheming, underhanded behavior from people you should be able to trust is disgusting. Cut off anyone who knew about the little arrangement and thinks it was okay. Your SB needed the money but your son didn't. That is incredibly stupid argument. If your ex had paying support, you might have been able to afford childcare. Second, get an attorney now. Who knows what your ex has been planning all this time? He might be setting you up to try and establish a relationship to get custody with the help of your SB. Your SB has proven he can be bought and he really doesn't care for your feelings. Text X your that SB will no longer be watching your son. So unless he mounts up and talks to you or your attorney, he is cut off on his secret visitations. He can pay you the support he should have paying all along instead of your SB. This is all so messed up. Sorry to hear about this. How can you ever trust your stepbrother again? And what about your ex? He wants to be involved in his kid's life behind your back. I don't know what to advise, but I at least would expect that your ex explains to you without giving you any bulls what he wants and why he went behind your back. Then you can decide what you want. It may not hurt to ask for professional advice regarding co-parenting, especially if he wants to enforce visitor rights etc. about your brother. The fuck? What is his excuse? Make sure you cut all those greedy lying bastards out of your life. Put him on child support, seeing as he's more than willing to pay everyone else to see your child yet not actually pay money to support him. Don't let any of them babysit again. I'd speak to a lawyer and see what can be done too. No contact with stepbrother. That's a ridiculous line to cross. They've literally profited off your son. He's acted like some kind of non-sexual pimp for your son. I know that's a messed up thing to write, but it's essentially what he's done. It's beyond weird. I'd be done with him. Time to collect child support officially. Your ex has been shady as hell in his behavior. I'd have given him the benefit of doubt that your stepbrother may have manipulated him. Given the fact they told him you're fragile etc. So see how he reacts when you get to speak. If he gives you the run around, then it's simple. You tell him if he wants contact, it'll be through the courts. Lawyer up. Make sure he doesn't try to kidnap the kid. Cut out your stepbrother and Sil both. They were without your permission and knowledge giving your child to another adult to watch in exchange for money. This is entirely fucked up and dangerous, and the person in question being his father does not actually make the situation better. They flat out cannot be trusted with your child and they do not deserve your time and energy. You only know because she told you to get back at him. Not because either of them thinks they fucked up doing this. Your ex can file for visitation, but if he's not on the certificate he doesn't get to sneak around and pay money to other people to kidnap your child for certain amounts of time. That's also fucked up. I'd also go low or no contact with your stepmom. No mother should be made unaware of where her child is, especially if it's on a consistent basis. Fuck your stepbrother, fuck your stepmother, and fuck your Sil. If they need more money then they need find a job. Your son is not a mule for easy money. Sneaky cunts. They have taken advantage of you. If your ex wants to visit his son through you then he will need to pay you child support. Everything has to be on your terms. Just ask yourself what other shit they have agreed to in exchange for money. Would they have given your son to predators? Not to be trusted. I wonder what all this is, legally. Bribery? Kidnapping? Your stepbrother is lucky if you don't press charges. Although I feel like that's definitely what you should do with your ex. You can work something out and he can pay child support and have some access to his son, if that works for you, or he can get a restraining order. Absolutely not. OMG, I would be livid. They have your young child in the custody of a third party without your consent. She can't babysit your kid anymore. Why does your ex have to be sneaky? Tell him you can arrange an official custody and visitation arrangement or nothing. Talk to a lawyer before you talk to your ex. You need to know exactly what your rights and responsibilities are before this goes any further. If you have to let him see your son, at least make sure the judge knows that you never withheld visitation or contact from your ex. He never made any effort to see your son. Judges don't like sneaky stuff like paying someone else to sneak visits rather than going through the mother and the courts. Also, get the child support dating from birth to the present. Good luck, op. I'm beyond angry right now. I've never tried to stop my ex from having contact with our son, but he still decided to be sneaky. And I don't even want to ever see my stepbrother again. I told my parents what happened, and my stepmom is telling me to just let things continue how they are because my stepbrother needs the money and also my son is getting to bond with his dad this way. She also pointed out that this way I don't have to deal with my ex because my stepbrother handles everything and since they're sneaking around, I get to dictate when he sees him. This is totally nuts. If your ex wants to be involved in your son's life, you need some sort of custody arrangement and you need to be able to co-parent together and have conversations. Lol. Go put him on child support and wait for him to file for visitation. They're two separate courts. In the meantime, find a new sitter. That's mad weird of him and your stepbrother and Sil. I wouldn't trust them to care for my child or keep him safe. I'm happy that you got to talk to him. Obviously what he did is beyond wrong, but to me your stepbrother is FCKED up. Assuming they have had 5 playdates, your stepbrother has gotten at least £1,000 for being a complete immoral scumbag. Please tell me you're going NC with both stepbrother and stepmother. I see no good coming out of those relationships. How else have their values interfered with your life? I'd be shocked if this was an isolated incident. I can't believe the nerve of them. They are getting money that you should be getting, not telling you what is going on with your child, and somehow they are okay with it. That would make me want to throttle them. Did they take into consideration that he might decide to take off with him? The harm it could potentially. Face with symbols on mouth, face with symbols on mouth, face with symbols on mouth. What in the actual Jerry Springer Geraldo situation is this? I assume you don't have an official custody agreement since no child support. By your stepbrother arranging visitation, behind your back or not, you may be opening the door to getting sued for custody. Save that confession as evidence and never let them see your kid again. Also, consider going for full custody yourself and getting child support. I'd get a restraining order on my sister and cut ties forever. Child trafficking. I'd sue the shit out of my brother and this ex. The betrayed your trust hardcore. Imagine, next time they sell your son off to some pedophiles. I would be so unbelievable angry at everyone and probably cut everyone out of my life. Your brother and sister-in-law sold your son to your ex without your knowledge. Then your stepmom condoned it because of money. And your brother knew he wasn't paying you child support because he the puppet master was positive neither of you had any contact, so he financially gained from your mental health breakdown, which is sick on its own, and your baby, and didn't give a cent towards your baby who was the one basically being pimped out for time. Your ex, make him give that spare cash straight to you to raise him. And considering your sister-in-law as a liar too, they were not babysitting for free. They weren't even babysitting. Anyone who sells one child for anything will probably end up selling their own children for much worse. It's dirty and greedy. First thing, I would say is child support will be X amount. Heck no, he pays your bro-in-law $200 a visit. I would make sure that was the first thing I talked about, sweetie. This is a massive betrayal of your trust with several different people at several different times. Your stepbrother had no right to step in the first place and keep your ex from talking to you, and he certainly had no right to go behind your back and sell him time with your son. His wife is just as guilty, and your stepmother is no better for trying to push you into acting like nothing happened. This is your son. No one has the right to make these decisions for him but you. I personally would tell stepbrother and his wife to GTF out of my life and would withdraw all contact from them. Stepmother would be getting some real kind advice on how to shut her mouth or follow her son out the door. It's a father who wanted to kill his son. Then when he realized that his son was alive, he realized his mistake but didn't have the courage to talk to you as he was told by your stepbrother. He wanted to see him without telling you to not risk that you'll prevent him from seeing him again. What he did was wrong, and your stepbrother is a dickhead, and he should give you all the money he took because that should have been your son's money. Please point out to Sil that she was not babysitting for free. She was in fact not babysitting for a lot of money. I don't understand why you are letting your ex come over to discuss custody outside of a court when he has shown he's willing to lie, cheat and mislead you. He has money to throw around at your stepbrother but won't support his kid. Your stepbrother has essentially been pumping out your child. This is disgusting. Go through lawyers. These people are not trustworthy. What are you doing, step bro? Smirk. £200 a visit for 8 months is a lot of fucking money that op should be given. If the dad isn't paying child support, that money should go straight to op. Post-edit response. Good for you. Really? Becoming a parent is freaking terrifying. Becoming a parent in the face of significant pressure not to is very brave. Sounds like your ex recognizes that now, and regrets the actions that caused your issues. Not to put words in his mouth, but he will likely be grateful for your fortitude for the rest of his life. Sounds like he will be able to be financially supportive as well, so that will be a good thing. emotionally supportive too, which in some ways is even better. You two seem like you are on the path forward which will be best for your son. First thing you need to do is file for custody. At any point he can take your child and not return him if no agreement is made. You can also write up a parenting agreement and have it officiated. Most banks in America do this among other places. Figure out something that would gradually increase his time with him as you start to learn his parenting style. Also make sure to communicate any do's and don'ts with how you want your child raised, sleep schedule, food habits, discipline, religion, etc. Well done for talking to your ex and working on a solution. Your stepbrother and his mother sound like a nasty piece of work. They needed the money and as you didn't pay them what they did was okay. BS. Sort the access out with your ex and keep away from your stepbrother for a while until everything has settled down. The stepmom and brother are insane. The baby daddy sounds like he was just being a naive idiot. Just do what's right for your son. I would be way more pissed at stepbro than with your ex. I think the co-parenting arrangement is probably best for everyone, and you should definitely be getting some child support. Talk to your ex about what that looks like. The stepbro situation I think needs a stern conversation with stepbro and Sil about boundaries and also cutting off all unsupervised time with kiddo. If they are willing to sneak around with your child for $200, imagine what they would do for $500, $1,000. Don't risk it. Have you gone through a mediator to arrange him seeing the kid and paying you child maintenance? That will be the first step in the UK, if he wants to have visitation or partial custody. You can go to court to get an agreement drawn up. I think it's Form C100 and costs about £200. Why the fuck did he not just go through you and pay you an extra £200 to have a nice day out instead of going through a scumbag stepbrother? He could have done something nice for the mother of his kid whilst also bonding with the child as well. He can pay fucking child support and go about it the right way. Your stepbrother, his wife and your ex are all giant pieces of feces. And your mom needs to fucking stop enabling it and going the same way. What exactly are you angry about? I'm asking because outside of your stepbrother getting money for essentially nothing, I don't really see any other problem. Even then, he really didn't harm anyone. Cutting him out of your life might be a little extreme. Your child needs other family members to bond with and so do you. American culture is so quick to cut people off for trivial reasons. I truly don't get why. They sold your son. No way. Time to get that back pay. And keep all records of what happened in case for future issues of him secretly going behind your back, because if he's willing to do that, then who can you trust if he decides he wants your son for good? Think wisely before you agree to anything. Big yikes. I think you could actually call the cops on him for child endangerment. Does he know how bad that could have been? Some guy says, "Hey, I'm his dad. You can just leave him alone with me, in exchange for money," and he did it. Don't ever let him see that child again. If your ex wants to see him, he better start paying child support, like he should if wanted a relationship. I'd also be weary about him. He went behind your back and saw your son without your consent. That's a pretty big no-no, in my books. For your stepbrother to use your child for money is beyond low. I would not trust your stepbrother or your ex. First off, I feel horrible for both you and your kid. That said, if I were in your shoes, I would make sure to get any visitation custody support in legal writing. Not counting your scummy stepbrother, your ex has proven himself untrustworthy, so make it legal so you've got a recourse if anything shady happens. I'm not necessarily saying it will, but you can't be too safe. You are right, they can all fuck right off and dad can go to court to get visitation and pay you child support. Hun, if you are in the US, you need to cut contact with Sil, Bill and X and anyone else on their side, and put a stop to all this now. They have made it clear that they are not to be trusted. If dad wants to see your son, he needs to do it the right way and file. You need an enforceable court order and child support. Right now, without one, he could take your son at any time and you wouldn't be able to get him back without going to court yourself, and who knows how long that would even take. Police wouldn't help because custody is a civil matter. Cut contact until you have an enforceable visitation schedule in a court order. I'd be pissed. And looking for legal options. Restraining orders at least. Lawsuits maybe. Why is UX not paying child support? Go to family court. Check online immediately. You need to make other arrangements for childcare. What your stepbrother is doing is deceitful and the decision-making on both he and his wife is not healthy. Go through the courts. Your ex wants to see his child, then do it legally. Regardless, get that child support.